zove ovaj most?
Kako?
Dugin most.
Zašto?
Zato što se s njega najljepše vidi duga na nebu.
Ja nikad nisam vidio dugu.
Ja sam je vidjela 2 puta. Jednom je bila cijela, a jednom tek polovicu. Djede, šta je duga značila Sutancima?
Za Sutance je duga bila poruka od sunca, simbol promjene. Kako nakon kiše dolazi sunce, tako pojava duge znači promjenu. A da bi promjena bila dobra, treba obaviti ritual. Treba sunce zamoliti za dobrotu i zahvaliti mu. Nastava u školi se prekidala i djeca bi išla pozdraviti dugu. I dok bi odrasli pozdravljali dugu mašući suncokretom, djeca bi otpjevala prigodnu pjesmicu, himnu dugi i obnavljanju.
Crvena, narančasta, žuta, zelena, plava, ljubičasta. Uvijek nas je zanimalo što je zapravo duga.
A rainbow has been described as the daughter of the wind and the storm. But what it is very simple, but very complicated in that simplicity. It's basically sunlight falling on raindrops, and the raindrops act as little prisms and reflect the light back, but also disperse the light, turning the white sunlight into the colors of the rainbow. And it was actually understanding that process that taught us something about what the sun was made of. Because when early astronomers looked at the light of the sun, they realized that they could also use prisms to split the light up and look at its spectrum. And there in the spectrum were some clues as to what the sun was made of, the composition of the sun. So in a sense, we learned how to see what the sun and the stars were made of by understanding how the rainbow is formed.
Proučavanje sunca nudi bezbroj iznenađenja. Zaista se čini nevjerojatnim da nam duga može odgovoriti na pitanje od čega se sastoji sunce.
One of the most important events in understanding the sun, indeed in understanding the whole universe, was an experiment carried out by Sir Isaac Newton. He went and brought a prism, and then on a very sunny day, he drew the shutters in his study and made a small hole in the blinds so that there was a shaft of sunlight going across his study, and he held the prism in front of it, and he saw that the prism split the light into rainbow colours. Now, others had done that before, but Isaac Newton had a particular way of looking at things, and he took the red light from that prism and tried to split it some more with another prism, and he realised you couldn't do it. Once the light had been split once, you couldn't then split it again. And he also took a prism and arranged it so that he took the rainbow colours and made them back into white light. And he showed that light, white light from the sun, was made up of a rainbow of colours. And that was fundamental because it taught us something about the nature of light. And if scientists were ever to understand how the sun worked, what the sun's surface was like, what it was made of, the only thing you can do is analyse the light that's coming from the sun. So splitting the light up into its spectrum, into its colours, was the first step in trying to find out what the sun was actually made of.
Koliko još treba do izvora?
Oko 10 minuta.
A puno manje. Sutancima je trebalo puno više vremena da dođu do svog svetog izvora.
Ti sutanci su imali jako puno svetkovina.
Da, a svetkovina proljetnog ekvinocija bila je najljepša.
Zašto?
Zato što je na njoj bilo najviše svjetla. Slavilo se svjetlo i voda.
Pleme je izražavalo zahvalnost što sunce daruje svjetlost, a njime i toplinu, a zemlja daruje vodu i hranu. U proljeće šume i polja se bude, a rijeke donose obilje svježe vode kojom se zalijevaju mlade biljke. Izvorska voda bila je sveta, jer ona donosi život.
Kako?
Voda s izvora je voda koju pijemo.
Tu posvećenu vodu iz svete čaše prvi je pio poglavica plemena, pa plemenski astronom, glavna liječnica, pa vođa poljodjelaca, čuvarica šuma, a potom svi ostali.
I am Hiraratan Manek. I live by the energy of the sun.
Energiju sunca biljke pretvaraju u lišće, plodove i voćke. Tim se biljkama hranimo mi i životinje, a životinjama neke druge životinje. No svi mi zapravo posredno jedemo energiju sunca. Hiraratan Manek to radi bez posrednika, napajajući se energijom direktno iz sunčeve svjetlosti. Zvuči fantastično, ali u stvari riječ je samo o drevnoj znanosti. Što je to solarna yoga?
Solar yoga is a practice by which human body does photosynthesis just as plants are doing it. Just as plants manufacture food from the sun, the human body also manufactures food from the sun. Also, you get perfect health of mind, body and spirit. There are no problems, no mental weaknesses, no physical weaknesses, no spiritual ignorances, and you lead your life very healthy, happily. And it is a so simple practice by looking at the sun either morning or evening hours or whenever ultraviolet index of the sun is less than 2. So it is the capacity of the human body to do the photosynthesis, same as plants are doing it.
Koje su dobrobiti solarne joge?
The benefits are many. The first biggest benefit that has been now accepted is that the neurons, the cells in the brain regenerate. They get back the lost strength. And when the neurons get back the strength, regenerate in more number, the whole health scenario changes for the better. And you start getting benefits. First is with the health of the eye. The vitamin A develops in the body because of sun gazing. Then sun gazing, the light that comes to the eye acts as a laser. So any problem of the eye is taken care of. So eye problems can be treated with sun gazing. And then as you proceed in sun gazing or solar yoga, your mental health is taken care of. And what we get is perfect balance of mind, positive thinking, no fear in life, always without anger, greed, jealousy. You are full of kindness, love, compassion. And then if you proceed further, then slowly your hunger also will disappear. And when hunger disappears, your fasting happens. And when fasting happens, and when you get mental health, you are able to do the penance and meditation. So spiritually also you are advancing. So the whole benefit is your present life is taken care of. You live the present life with full health of mind, body and spirit. You die peacefully because of that, and then life after death also is happy.
Je li poznato kada i gdje je nastala solarna yoga?
Solar yoga, no one knows when it started. It's an age-old practice. Thousands of years back, all our ancestors all over the world had this practice. And gradually it lost the sight of the people as the modern science advanced, and they created the scare about the sun. In the recent years, say from 1995 onwards, I have revived that practice and I am presenting to the world. But actually it is very difficult to say when the sun yoga or solar yoga on this planet originated.
Od kada ne jedete normalnu hranu?
From 18 June 1995, I don't take solid food. Only in last about 13 years, 6 or 7 times only I had a solid food. Otherwise, I am only on few liquids like water, tea, coffee or diluted yogurt. And also I have proved before medical science thrice how I can live longer and longer only on water.
Gdje su vas do sad testirali po pitanju prehrane suncem i s kakvim rezultatima?
I submitted myself to medical tests so that the medical people also know what I have done, and when they observe and find out from their knowledge what I have done, the people will start also believing. So to make people believe that what I have done, the major fastings, I submitted to the medical science for observations thrice. Once it was in 95-96, I remained only on water for 211 days. Then later in 2000-2001, in a place called Ahmedabad, I remained only on water for 411 days. And that was round the clock observed by international team of 21 doctors, chaired by the then Indian Medical Association president, and is reported in Medical Journal March 2001 of India, signed by Sudhir Shah and Navneet Shah. And then later in 2002, I was invited by two universities, Thomas Jefferson and University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, and they observed me 130 days on and off on my water fasting. And all those recordings that all the 3 times I have been done, clearly medical science believes that there is something going on in the human body, that it is possible to sustain the body on any other sources of energy other than the food. And sun energy is the easiest source. Medical science could not find anything that had gone wrong in my physical body.
Što je pinealna žlijezda i koji je njen značaj?
Pineal gland, it is in the shape of a pie, and as you age, it slowly shrinks, and by the age of 60-65, it becomes extinct. Pineal gland is never seen. But because of sun gazing, the pineal gland that was in my brain actually enlarged double the size of a normal man, and that has excited the medical experts on these pineal gland's powers. And now they believe that pineal gland has navigational powers, pineal gland has got psychic powers. Navigational powers means the birds have pineal gland that is naturally charged.
Znači, sunčeva svjetlost koja ulazi u oči ide direktno u pinealnu žlijezdu.
It is just in the center of the brain, just behind the eyes and center of the brain. Om Bhurvavasva Tat Savitur Varenyam Vargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yona Prachodayat. Solar yoga will transform the world into a better order, because once everyone gets good health, their whole ideas will change. People will come out of greed, jealousy, anger, hostility. People will be full of love, kindness, compassion. There will be total change in the thinking of politicians. This will again encourage people to use sun energy in all other ways.
Na koji način se vježba solarna yoga i koliko je vremena potrebno da se stigne do cilja?
So it is looking 5-10 seconds first day, then next day you look for 15-20 seconds, third day you look for 30-40 seconds, according to the comfort of the eye. You just go on increasing. Even if you miss some days in between, doesn't matter, you need not restart, you just continue from where you left. And like that, when you have done about 60 days of practice, or you are at 10 minutes of sun gazing, the benefits come to the eye, you are getting the eye health. And when you are at 3 months, that is 15 minutes of sun gazing, you are getting perfect mental health. You are free from all mental problems. And when you are reaching 6 months, then you are getting control of all your physical problems. All your physical ailments are taken care of. And when you cross 6 months, that is 30 minutes of sun gazing, and when you have reached the final stage, say 44-45 minutes, that takes about 9 months or 270 days, your hunger which starts disappearing, and whole life you can go on without the solid food, only few liquids, especially the water are required, because body is 80% water.
Pokažite mi kako bih trebao gledati u sunce.
So it is just as I am standing, you also stand straight, keep your spinal cord straight, keep your legs like this to apart, be in a relaxed way, and then look at the sun, and that's all. Be straight and look at it just as you watch TV, you are looking at the sun. Let your eyes blink quicker, be relaxed, never stare at it, and relaxed way, look, first day 10 seconds, that's all. And every day go on increasing gradually. So easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Da probamo.
Silvestre, jesi ti ikada pio vodu sa samog izvora?
Pa, nisam.
Pa probaj.
Jesi li ti sigurna da je ova voda dobra za,
Jesam, sigurna sam. Hej, pa ovo je izvorska voda. S pravog izvora.
Nekako je slatkasta. Sviđa mi se.
A sad zamisli kakva je bila voda sa svetog izvora dobre rijeke.
Kakva?
Još bolja, još slađa, sveta.
Pa što su onda s njom radili?
Pili su je.
Samo to.
Glavni agronom, vođa poljodjelaca, svečano bi s njom zalio mlade biljke koje su tek posađene u zemlju. Pastiri su je davali životinjama da budu zdrave i vitalne. A glavni astronom je pomoću nje prao svoje oči da bolje vidi zvijezde.
Meni je taj glavni astronom baš faca.
Ja baš ne razumijem. Zašto je on toliko važan?
Glavni plemenski astronom bio je važna osoba, glavni savjetnik poglavice. On je određivao u koje će dane biti koja svetkovina, kada će se sijati žitarice, kada saditi povrće i voće. On je bio zadužen za kalendar. Noću je pratio kretanje zvijezda i mjeseca iz svog observatorija i bilježio promjene koje su se događale na noćnom nebu. Danju je promatrao sunce. Pratio je dužinu sjene u podne i tako pratio sunčevu putanju dan za danom.
Tako je mogao znati koji je dan u godini.
Tako je mjerio koliko je vremena prošlo od recimo proljetnog ekvinocija i koliko još ima do ljetnog solsticija. Kad god je mogao, pratio je sunčeve pjege i polako otkrivao njihovu tajnu.
Zar sunčeve pjege kriju neku tajnu?
It was the great Anglo-German astronomer William Herschel who really first noted that sunspots were not regular. They came and went. There were times when there were a lot of sunspots on the sun and times when there were hardly any. And he noticed that that did seem to coincide, the number of sunspots, with grain harvests on the earth and with the quality of wines produced. So he postulated that there was some connection between what the sun was doing and the earth's climate. But it wasn't until 1840 that the major leap was made. And it was a German astronomer called Heinrich Schwab, who didn't really have much of an interest in astronomy until he won a telescope in a lottery. And he didn't like staying up at night, so he was drawn towards observing the sun. And he noticed that these sunspots came and went over a period of years. So he made a series of observations, and he also looked back at historical observations, and he made the astounding discovery that the sun has something like a heartbeat of 11 years or so. So you have a period whereby there are a lot of sunspots on the surface of the sun, and then 11 years there are also another solar maximum, but in between you go through a minimum when the sunspots decline. So you have a 11-year solar cycle. And this was fascinating. Why the sun would change this way, nobody really understood. And the next leap forward was made by a rather tragic British astronomer called Richard Carrington, who was the first person really to look at the surface of the sun, look at all the spots there, and turn what was the idea of a sunspot cycle into statistics, into numbers. And he found out many things. He found out in precise detail how the sunspots come and go over 11 years, but he also found out how the spots move across the surface over that period. Early on, just after solar minimum, the first spots that appear tend to be at very high latitudes. And as you move towards solar maximum and the maximum number of spots, the spots move towards the equator. So Richard Carrington really showed us something about the choreography, the movement of spots on the sun over the 11-year sunspot cycle.
Ples sunčevih pjega bio je prvi korak prema otkrivanju prirode tih neobičnih pojava. Istinski su se razotkrivati počele tek kroz temperaturu i magnetizam.
So by the time the 19th century drew to a close, we had measured the geography of sunspots. We knew they came and went every 11 years, and we knew that over that 11-year cycle, they occur at various parts on the sun's surface. So we understood what was happening in that respect, but we didn't know exactly what sunspots were. Observations made showed that they were slightly cooler regions of the sun's surface, still very hot. If you were to hold a sunspot up on its own, it would be as bright as any light you could possibly imagine, and it only appears dark because the surrounding part of the sun is even hotter and brighter. It's a contrast effect. Apart from that, we really didn't know why they occurred every 11 years or so and what they actually were. And the first person who really made a stab at that was an American astronomer called George Ellery Hale. And the way he did it was by looking at the surface of the sun with a new instrument. He was able to look at magnetic fields on the surface of the sun. Up to that time, scientists, physicists in the laboratory had developed ways to look at substances in magnetic fields. You could look at a gas and you could tell if it was subject to a magnetic field or if it was just on its own. And he took that technology and looked at the surface of the sun. And amazingly, when he looked at sunspots, he found evidence for a very strong magnetic field. Somehow in that particular region of the sun, there was a strong magnetism, and outside the sunspot, there wasn't. So he identified the sunspot as being some form of magnetic phenomena. And therefore, every 11 years or so, the sun becomes highly magnetic. You get a lot of magnetic fields on the surface, and then it dies down and it comes back again. And the curious thing is he found out that alternate sunspots, you've got one 11-year cycle and another 11-year cycle, the polarity of the sunspots is reversed. So during one cycle, you would have sunspots oriented with their north and south magnetic folds one way, and the subsequent sunspot cycle, they would be reversed. So the whole cycle to repeat itself is 22 years. The sunspot's magnetic cycle is 22 years, even though sunspots come and go every 11 years. And we still do not understand in great detail why the sun has that 11 or 22-year period.
Koliko se možemo odvažiti u smišljanju načina za korištenje tog besplatnog dara s neba, sunčeve energije? Znamo već da postoje kuće na sunčevu energiju, pa automobili, a čak i brodovi. No, bismo li davni i već ostvareni san o letenju također mogli pripojiti toj obitelji? Drugim riječima, je li presmjelo razmišljati o zrakoplovu na sunčevu energiju? Za švicarske konstruktore zrakoplova Solar Impulse samo je jedan prihvatljiv odgovor.
Par rapport à des changements de météo, je trouve que c'est super intéressant. Là, quantité d'hiver à bord. In 1999, Bertrand Piccard and Brian Jones flew around the world for the first time with a balloon. And they used about 4 tons of liquid propane to do the entire flight. And at the time, Bertrand thought would be possible to make this flight without any fuel on board and totally independent from fossil energy. And that's how the idea started to develop. Would it be possible to fly around the world with solar energy, for example, but using only renewable energy to propel the aircraft or to give the lifts to an airship, which would have been another solution.
Andrej Boržber prvi je pilot u povijesti koji je 24 sata neprekidno letio zrakoplovom pokretanim sunčevom energijom. Taj bivši pilot švicarskog ratnog zrakoplovstva, a danas pilot solarnog zrakoplova, zajedno s Bertrandom Piccardom suosnivač je Solar Impulsa, prvog aviona na solarnu energiju.
Solar-powered airplane exists, interestingly, in fact, since many years. I think the first one flew in the late 70s or early 80s. But if you look at all these solar-powered airplanes, they fly very well between 10 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock in the afternoon when the sun is high on the horizon. But no one can fly through the entire day. And of course, no one can fly day and night. So they show more the limits of the technology instead of the potential. And with Solar Impulse, what we need and want to do is to be able to fly day and night. We need to do if we want to fly over the oceans, and we want to do it to get close to this notion of perpetual flight. So when we did the feasibility study, that was 6 years ago in 2003, we understood that we had very little energy available. We have to remember that we collect all the energy we use in this airplane directly through solar cells which are integrated into the wings. And having little energy means that we had to find solutions to save energy. And in fact, Solar Impulse is initially a project around energy savings. What does it mean? It means that to fly around the world, we have available the power equivalent of a scooter, so a small motorcycle. And to be able to fly with this energy, we needed to have a very big airplane. So big wingspan means an airplane which is aerodynamically very efficient, needs little energy to fly, and we needed an airplane to be very light. So what do we have today? Behind me, we have an airplane of the size of an Airbus 340, so one of the largest one, and with the weight of a mid-sized car, being an Audi, being a small Mercedes or whatever. And that's very new, that has never been done. And that's the challenge of Solar Impulse. We would be able to fly day and night without any fuel. So you have to realize that there is no airplane of this size, this weight, flying at this speed, which has been flown until now. So we are discovering a new field, a new domain. And we try to understand how it works through flight simulation. And this is a flight simulator we developed with the support of Dassault Aviation. And Dassault is very specialized in flight controls, in flight dynamics, flight mechanics. And with the Solar Impulse team, we have introduced in this simulator all the characteristics we believe will be the characteristic of the Solar Impulse airplane with two objectives. First is to understand how this airplane flies and can be controlled. So we used to check different designs when we were at the design of the airplane, different shape of the wings, for example, different type of flight controls, to see how best we can control an airplane of this size. And you can see how slow we fly here. We can see we're in final approach. And you can see that every small movement that we do, in fact, has an immediate impact on the stability of the airplane. Second objective, of course, is to do exactly what I'm doing now, is to train the pilot. Is to do as many approaches as possible to be sure that when we do fly the real airplane, we are very well prepared. So here we're in the final sequence. We see we have a slight crosswind from the left. And that's the reasons why we have this attitude. And that's what we are currently training and testing. So the airplane will fly around the world in 5 different steps, mainly from one continent to the next one. You have to realize that each leg will last up to 5 days, 5 nights, with only one pilot on board. So that's a very long time. Has not been done neither, in fact, of duration of flight. So we'll have to discover how to manage an airplane during such a long period, how to sleep, how to rest, and how to feed ourselves. You can see it needs a lot of concentration because any small movement, as I said, has a strong impact on the stability of the airplane. And we can see here we can stabilize and we land more or less in the middle of the runway there. Every day this airplane will have to climb. So we store energy in batteries on one side, but also on altitude. We'll climb to about 10,000 meters, which is the altitude where airliners fly. At the end of the day, the airplane will start to fly down for about 2-3 hours, very slowly, to a low altitude of 2,000-3,000 meters. So during this time, we will not use energy stores in the batteries. And when we stabilize at 3,000 meters, then we start with the engine using the energy of the batteries, with the hope that the batteries will last, of course, until the following day when the sun is rising again, which should provide energy again to the solar cells and directly to the motors. This airplane will fly from 0 meters on the ground to 8,500 meters altitude. And at this altitude, the temperature is minus 40 degrees, and we have no heating system here. So we have an insulation, which is this part of the cockpit, and then we have to protect ourselves with the appropriate suit, and that's what we are developing, something which we can slowly put on the body so that when the temperature decreases, we can protect ourselves. But it's certainly going to be cold. The temperature inside the cabin should be not more than 0 degrees when we are at high altitude. So computers are very important in 2 dimensions. First of all, we have a central computer on board of the airplane which do the management of the entire propulsion chain, controls all the solar cells, all the battery cells, the different motors, giving all the information to the pilot, and at the same time also to the ground through telemetry. And as the system is complex and new, that's very important to have this information available. And of course, we also have a lot of software on the ground for the mission team to simulate in advance what the airplane will do when we have the meteorological forecast, so that the mission team on the ground can run different scenarios and choose the best one and ask the pilot to fly these best scenarios for him to increase the chance to reach the destination in good meteorological conditions. One part of the suit is computerized, which is a part which is made of a vibration system which informs the pilots if we have too much inclination. So for example, in a curve, if we have too big inclination, this information goes through the pilot through vibration in the arms, so that the pilot knows what he has to do, if he has to correct and or not immediately, even if he's a little bit sleepy, if he's not fully concentrated on the flight operations. We have sophisticated software which simulates whatever the airplane will do, in which also we can put real-time meteorological data. So by simulation, we can see if we can forecast the meteo well enough, if the performance of this airplane is sufficient, and if we can do this mission. But of course, it's only simulation. Reality will show if we can do it. This airplane is very sensitive to what we call inclination, the bank angle. And so I have to be very careful to make very, very small correction. If not, you see now, for example, we have a small oscillation because I did a correction which is a little bit big. And you see the airplane which is going a little bit left and right, but now it stabilizes again. If I don't move too much. We keep this position there. You see it's oscillating slightly. It's not totally stable. I think we have a little bit wind from the right still, but that's fine. It's going to be different from what we have, but this is the first step, and that's the window, in fact, we'd like to open. That's the way we'd like to show to the world.
Mnoge drevne duhovne tradicije prepoznavale su sunce kao izvor života, pa čak i svijesti. A neka najnovija otkrića ponovno otkrivaju tu tajnu vezu i pokazuju u kojoj mjeri sunce svira skrivene strune našeg organizma. Nije li stoga pristojno svakoga jutra barem pozdraviti sunce? Jadranko Miklec, osnivač je transcendentalne meditacije u Hrvatskoj i dugogodišnji učitelj mnogih tehnika joge.
Sunce simbolizira izvor života i ono na neki način u duhovnom smislu simbolizira jednu univerzalnu kozmičku svijest iz koje je sve nastalo, cijeli univerzum. Sunce isto tako ima posebno mjesto u svim civilizacijama, u svim kulturama i bilo je uvijek štovano, jer su ljudi osjećali tu jednu vezu, životnu vezu sa sunčevom energijom i sunčevim svjetlom koje daje život. Sunce isto tako ima svoje vlastito svjetlo, a mjesec odražava sunčevo svjetlo. To je odnos između univerzalne kozmičke svijesti i individualne svijesti koja je odraz te kozmičke svijesti. Možemo reći sunce je bitak ili apsolut, a mjesec predstavlja individualni duh. Isto tako sve što je izvan nas, cijeli makrokozmos je odslikan u ljudskom biću kao mikrokozmos. Tako da su neki znanstvenici otkrili čak da određene područja u mozgu, gangliji, na primjer talamus odgovara suncu, hipotalamus odgovara mjesecu, svih 9 najvažnijih ganglija odgovara 9 planeta i njihov raspored u mozgu je sličan kao što je raspored u sunčevom sustavu. Tako da vidimo da je veza između čovjeka i sunca ne samo mitološka, nego je ona životna veza i sve promjene koje se događaju na suncu direktno se odražavaju u promjenama funkcioniranja talamusa, koji je jako važan centar za zdravlje čovjeka. Zbog toga su u drevnim civilizacijama štovali sunce i vršili određenu vježbu pozdrava sunca i tu vježbu su koristili i za ozdravljivanje. Na primjer, uvijek kada bi u tom pokretu otvaranja prema suncu, oni bi zamislili da sva sunčeva energija, sunčevo svjetlo ulazi u njih i obasjava svaku stanicu tijela i čisti od svih nečistoća, a sa izdisajem bi osjećali kako sve nečistoće napuštaju njihovo tijelo. Tako jedna vježba u drevnoj tradiciji joge zove se Surya Namaskaram, to je pozdrav ili poklon suncu, je poznata kao izuzetno iscjeljujuća vježba. Poznati znanstvenik iz Njemačke, dr. Klaus Volkamer, je otkrio da oko planete Zemlje ne postoji samo atmosfera, nego postoji još jedan omotač koji je omotač negativne entropije. I sunčeve zrake rano ujutro, kada prodiru kroz zemljinu atmosferu, one kupe tu negativnu entropiju i donose ju na Zemlju. Zbog toga štovanje sunca ujutro na način da se gleda sunce ili da se pritom izvode isto tako vježbe pozdrava suncu, imaju učinak da čovjek onda prima tu negativnu entropiju, što zapravo direktno utječe da unosi u sebe životnu energiju koja neutralizira porast nereda u njegovom živčanom sustavu, u njegovom organizmu. Jer jedan znanstvenik, Erwin Schrödinger, je proučavao fiziku živih sustava i otkrio je da se živi sustavi opiru entropiji na način da unose u sebe negativnu entropiju. A oni to unose kroz sunce, kroz vodu, kroz svježi zrak. Vježba pozdrav suncu proizlazi iz drevne solarne joge, koja je stara koliko i civilizacija na planeti Zemlji. Također u drevnom Egiptu su prakticirali tu vrstu joge, drevni Asteci su isto ju prakticirali, u drevno vedsko vrijeme u Indiji su ju prakticirali. Dakle, to je jedna od najstarijih oblika tjelovježbi, koja je imala svrhu da omogući svijesti osobi da proširi svoje granice i da spozna svoju unutarnju bit. koja zapravo je simbolično predstavljena sa suncem i da isto tako postigne stanje potpunog zdravlja.
Nešto šulja. Nešto maleno.
Šta, ptica ili zec?
Zašto vičeš?
Čuvarica šuma je uvijek vikala u šumi. Pogotovo kad je ulazila u nju.
Zašto?
Zato da sve divlje zvijeri čuju da je ona u šumi. Nema nikoga.
Ajmo.
A što je zapravo radila ta čuvarica šuma?
Čuvarica šuma brinula se o šumama i svim dijelovima zemlje koju je pleme smatralo svojim. Brinula se da svi izvori vode ostanu bistri, nezagađeni. A ako bi se i dogodilo onečišćenje, trebalo je o tome obavijestiti poglavicu i plemensku liječnicu. Ona i njeni izvidnici brinuli su i da se ne naruši ravnoteža među životinjama i vodili računa o njihovu zdravlju. Također, ako bi se čopor opasnih životinja previše približio, oni bi ga otjerali. Određivala je koja se stabla mogu sjeći, koja su dobra za ogrjev, a koja za gradnju ili za drvodjelce. Svako jutro čuvarica šuma bdjela je nad djecom koja su dolazila pozdraviti sunce.